I've been seeing more and more comments on social media and in various videos asking questions like, why did Israel invade Lebanon? Or why is Israel at war with Lebanon? What's Israel's problem with Lebanon? Why is Israel bombing Lebanon? These questions show that the information many people in the West are seeing is either totally out of context or simply lacking key facts. So if you want to understand the real reason why Israel is moving into Lebanon and carrying out the bombings and operations we see all over social media, stick around for this video. I guarantee that by the end of it, you'll have answers to these questions. This Monday marks 1 year since the ruthless attack carried out by Hamas on the people of Israel. The tragic events of October 7th, 2023, left a scar on the nation's consciousness, a scar that is hard to forget, especially with the voices of 101 people, including women, children, teens, and the elderly, still echoing from wherever they're being held captive under the ruins of Gaza in southern Israel. The very next day, October 8th, the echoes of war spread to the north as hundreds of short and medium-range missiles were fired at Israel's civilian population by Hezbollah, the terrorist group. Since that day, exactly 365 days ago, as of the making of this video, Hezbollah hasn't stopped attacking Israeli civilians. Over 13,000 missiles have been launched by Hezbollah in the past year, which means an average of one missile every hour, 24 hours a day, for 365 straight days. On October 8, 2023, Hezbollah officially declared war on Israel, a war that seemed to simmer down at times, a conflict that for 11 months became a war of attrition on both sides. Hezbollah continued its daily siege, gradually increasing the intensity of its attacks to the point where around 70,000 people in northern Israel, particularly those near the northern border with Lebanon, had to be evacuated to central and southern Israel. The situation forced tourism in Israel to stop entirely so that hotels could be used to shelter the evacuated families. I'm not sure what your country does when it comes to relocating evacuated people, but here in Israel, the government has been housing these 14,000 families in all kinds of hotels where they can sleep, eat, and, in the case of the children, attend temporary schools. It's important for you to know this so you can understand the responsibility Israel feels towards its civilian population. On July 27th, Hezbollah crossed a red line when missiles hit a soccer field in a Druze town, killing 12 children and injuring at least a dozen more. Although the Druze community is not Jewish, they are Israeli, and this attack became a key turning point in the conflict. A few days later, the IDF tracked down and eliminated Fuad Shruk, the one responsible for the attack on the Druze village. From that moment on, Hezbollah intensified its attacks on Israel, and with the real threat of Hezbollah using its heavy arsenal for the first time in this war, Israeli intelligence began planning a new strategy to target Hezbollah's leadership. As we say, Israel decided to take the bull by the horns. On August 25th, the IDF carried out a massive airstrike with 100 planes at once, successfully stopping a major Hezbollah attack using heavy weaponry against Israel. Despite Israel destroying hundreds of missile launchers and all sorts of rockets, we're still talking about Hezbollah, the largest and best-armed terrorist group in the world. I'm preparing a special video about Hezbollah. You won't want to miss it. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I share more updates. Well, this same terrorist group, Hezbollah, has been threatening and harassing Israel not only during the current war we're in, but ever since its inception. Back in 1982, Hezbollah was formed by Muslim clerics and financed by Iran, primarily to confront Israel, which was in direct conflict with Lebanon at that time. Hezbollah's core mission has always been one thing: to wage war and destroy the state of Israel. We'll dive deeper into this topic in another video. In September 2024, Israel began taking steps toward a potential ground operation in southern Lebanon. Slowly but surely, forces started moving from the southern region, and it became more common to see military convoys heading north, while hundreds of reservists were called up. By this point, rumors of a ground incursion into Lebanon were gaining traction. On September 30th, 2024, infantry ground forces, along with hundreds of armored vehicles, entered Lebanese territory for the first time in 18 years, following the conflict of 2006. So now you know the answer to the question, why did Israel invade Lebanon? But we also asked another question at the start of the video. Why is Israel at war with Lebanon? Well, that question is completely misleading. Israel is not at war with the country of Lebanon, which has its own army. Let's remember that on the night of September 30th, when Israel crossed the border, the Lebanese army voluntarily abandoned its surveillance positions, leaving the path open for Israel's advance. To this day, there hasn't been a single reported incident involving the armies of the two countries. In fact, what was seen on the streets of central Lebanon as Israel crossed the border was celebration. Yes, Lebanese citizens were celebrating, finally seeing the end of their oppressor, Hezbollah, which in its obsession with destroying Israel, has decimated southern Lebanon, turning its cities and towns into Hezbollah's weapons depots. There's a very important resolution you have probably heard mentioned in this conflict, but you might have no idea what it actually means. I'm talking about UN Resolution 1701, which ended the 2006 war. It called for the withdrawal of Israeli soldiers from southern Lebanon and Hezbollah's retreat north of the Litani River, creating a buffer zone several kilometers wide, controlled by the Lebanese army and UN peacekeepers. However, this resolution was never fully implemented. Hezbollah's attacks over the past year have been launched precisely from this supposedly UN-controlled buffer zone. Hezbollah argues that its presence is still necessary because of Israel's occupation of the Sheba farms, a territory that the UN considers part of Syria, but Lebanon claims as its own. Even though the resolution called for Hezbollah's disarmament, the group's political and military power has only increased thanks to backing from their uncle Iran. In 2008, Israel tried to negotiate peace with the Lebanese government, but the attempt was rejected due to Hezbollah's growing political control, which has since driven the country into a deep economic crisis. Right now, in the midst of Israel's ground incursion, Lebanese politicians are seizing the moment to try and elect a president. I know what you're thinking. A president? Yep, that's the problem with watching biased pro-Palestinian news. Lebanon hasn't had a president or a fully functioning cabinet since October 2022, thanks to Hezbollah's constant threats and harassment. On Monday, the Lebanese Forces Party, a major Christian faction and fierce opponent of Hezbollah, called for the election of a president, saying it's the only way for the state to take responsibility for itself. This was an implicit criticism of Hezbollah's massive stockpile of weapons. The last Lebanese president, Michel Aoun, was a former army commander and a political ally of Hezbollah. So, is Israel bombing Lebanon? No. The IDF's ground incursion into Lebanon has one main goal: to eliminate all of Hezbollah's operational centers in the country, including their arsenals, political, military, and intelligence centers. As the IDF advances, it's shocking to see what Hezbollah has turned this territory into. Literally a military fortress stretching along the entire border with Israel. Dozens of tunnels have been discovered, filled with missiles ready to be fired at Israel. In every village the IDF reaches, it's surprising to see how much weaponry of all kinds was stored in civilian homes, garages, and gardens. It's important to note that these villages were evacuated before the IDF arrived, as they had been warned in advance. A chilling plan was also uncovered, one similar to the attack Hamas carried out in southern Israel on October 7th last year, but on a much larger scale. It was a plan for the conquest of Galilee, meaning Hezbollah's invasion of Israeli territory. While this is happening during Israel's incursion into Lebanon, Hezbollah continues to resist. Remember, we're talking about the largest and best-armed terrorist group in the world. Just yesterday and today, Hezbollah launched nearly 200 missiles, hitting the cities of Haifa and Tiberias in northern Israel. Israel is acting with intelligence and military strategy, one of the best in the world. As of today, in just 2 weeks, Israel has eliminated Hezbollah's entire political and military leadership. Every one of those leaders swore that Israel's days were numbered. Well, they're not around anymore. Meanwhile, Israel continues its military advance. More brigades are joining in, and slowly but surely, the objective is becoming a reality: to make Hezbollah what ISIS is today, just a bad memory. I hope this brief video helps you understand the conflict we're in right now here in the Middle East. It's not a video that aims to explain every angle of this war in depth. That would take a whole series to do, but at least it will give you a better context for the war against this enemy of the nations, against this terrorist group whose reach extends even into Latin America. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll continue to follow everything happening in this conflict, so subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, so you know when I upload a new video, and don't forget to leave a like. It's really important to me. See you next time.